I can't imagine what it's going to be like when we eventually have to put Emma in a home, because we're not physically capable of taking care of her anymore.
Or when we have to find somewhere for Chloe to stay.
Like, he doesn't like talking about it.
Madison is our youngest, and he is now 30. And my husband and I are aging. And we fit the demographic that we set out to work with initially, because one of the biggest things we keep hearing about is, what's going to happen to our adult child when we're no longer around. And our family has that concern as well.
I was really worried about my kids' future and how they will handle things, but I've been trying to help them learn to be adults.
I remember this very vividly because we were sitting across the dining room table in their home, and the mom told me she felt like she was out to sea without a life preserver.
Is autism an issue? Is it a lifelong concern of parents, grandparents, and individuals, or is it just mainly childhood pediatric? And it turns out that that indeed it is very much life course.
I think most parents are very concerned about what's going to happen to my son or daughter after I'm gone. And I think this is probably the case for parents in general of all children, but for a child with particularly severe autism, I think parents are rightfully worried that there won't be adequate housing, medical care, case management, and someone to love their child.
In March of 2020, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention estimated the current rate of autism spectrum disorder for children aged 10 years old to be 1 in 54 in the United States. Worldwide, the prevalence is approximately 1 to 2% of the population. Autism spectrum disorder is characterized by a wide spectrum of challenges in communication, repetitive or restrictive behaviors, and deficits with social skills.
We are the Mosses. I'm Sarah.
I'm Shane.
We have two daughters, Chloe and Emma. They're 21-year-old twins. Emma is very low functioning, nonverbal, diapered. She has the mentality of about a 5-year-old. She has the capabilities of most 5-year-olds with the exception of language. She has never developed that skill. She uses an iPad to communicate. Chloe is, well, they're twins, so she's 21. She's very high functioning, and our girls are delightful, fantastic. They're awesome. Hard, but fantastic.
What's your name?
Mama.
Emma.
Good job. Okay. How old are you?
2, 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
21. She's autistic, classically autistic. Lack of eye contact. She didn't point at things when she was younger. She had major behavior issues, the lack of speech, like all of that. But she also has cerebral palsy.
Yeah, she's low-functioning autism and very high-functioning for cerebral palsy.
Yeah. Chloe has what's called a nonverbal learning disorder. With kids like her, and again, it falls under the autism umbrella. People like her, they have really bad short-term memory issues. She doesn't understand how to process nonverbal social cues. She's very verbal, so when it says nonverbal It doesn't mean that she can't talk. She's very verbal.
My name is Chloe Moss. I am the sister of Emily Moss, or Emma Moss. I'm 21. I work at a charter school for people with autism called Spectrum Academy. And I am currently enrolled at Salt Lake Community College. I'm still, trying to figure everything out that I want to do in life, and I know I'll probably be staying at home with my parents because I can't do a lot of things that normal 21-year-olds can.
I'm Dr. Bill McMahon. I've been a child psychiatrist since 1979 at Primary Children's Hospital and at the University of Utah.
Dr. McMahon has spent his career researching and serving families and individuals on the autism spectrum.
Autism used to be considered a rare condition. In the UCLA, University of Utah epidemiology study done in the state of Utah, 1984 to 88, we estimated the rate of autism among 10-year-olds to be 4 per 10,000. Currently, CDC and the Utah Registry for Autism and Developmental Disabilities estimates the rate of autism to be about 2%. So that's a huge change. Research on adult outcome is sort of a desert. We're looking for a few oases here and there, and we're waiting for more research to give us answers that we don't know.
My name is Scott Wright, and I worked at the University of Utah for about 33 years, service to this campus, and I have an interest in what's known as human development, but mainly life course interest. I took the initiative to get in touch with Temple Grandin. Here she was into the 60s, chronologically speaking. And yet the question came up, okay, well, what is happening post-adolescence, after the college years, into adulthood, and into later life? Has anyone talked about autism and aging in that regard? Doing an exhaustive literature review on the intersection of autism and aging was the first step. It turns out that in the United States, there was not much at all.
Dr. Wright's next step was to put together an edited book which would cover many different views regarding aging issues and include the perspective of the individual.
Individuals who their voice would be heard as aging individuals with autism conditions. And then finally, I wanted to see textbooks that are used in the health sciences. Do they even mention topics such as autism? There wasn't that much, but one of the things that in this particular domain, this intersection, is that it is emerging, and the rate of research and publications is now very much like a hockey stick going straight up.
With little research done to this point, there are few resources for parents as well. Many parents are not only making preparation to provide for their child throughout the lifespan, but to pave the way for others.
I'm Jalynn Prince, and I'm a parent of Madison Prince, and also the president and founder of Madison House Autism Foundation. Madison House Autism Foundation is one of the only not-for-profit organizations in the country that's been looking at lifespan, and we started doing this 13 years ago, going from the age of 21 on throughout the rest of life. The thing that we discovered was we needed to educate a country about an invisible population, because there has been a lot done about children and children in classrooms and how children have developed in one thing or another, but not as much about adults and what the reality of their lives happen to be.
Chelsea Nielsen understands that reality. She works with many individuals on the autism spectrum who need extra care throughout their lifespan.
I work for a company called Northeastern Services, and I am one of their behaviorists in the Logan Valley. My youngest one on the spectrum is 12, and he's a new intake, so he has only been with us a little over a week, about a week and a half. And then my other client with Autism Spectrum, I've got one who is 80 years old. I've got a couple in their 30s, some in their late 20s. So usually when we get them, they are in crisis, and that is very, very difficult for our direct care staff to handle, which is where the biggest portion of my workload comes in, is providing those supports to help see them out of crisis.
Chelsea's office provides services such as day programming, job skill training, activities, and if needed, a home.
Sometimes families, like the situation with our 12-year-old, families are unable to provide the level of care that individual needs. And so they come to our program for residential housing.
But not all individuals on the autism spectrum need residential housing. Some individuals, like Cheryl, have their own home, but still require assistance for not only herself, but for her 2 children.
I'm Cheryl. I'm married. I have 2 adult kids. They've both moved out, but they need a lot of help from me because they have autism too.
Cheryl suspected that she was on the autism spectrum as well when her daughters were diagnosed about 11 years ago.
So then I got my oldest tested, and then I spent years trying to find somebody who was willing to diagnose an adult, because adults don't get autism. And of course, as we all know, you don't get it as an adult, you just don't get diagnosed until then.
Once Cheryl received her diagnosis, she felt relieved.
It's kind of like, I'm not just some strange, weird person that can't fit in. I know what's going on now. I know why I'm like this. I wish I could fit in better. But, I've come to accept this is who I am. That doesn't bother me so much anymore. So
Cheryl has a master's degree, but she is unable to work due to health issues. It is something that makes her feel guilty because her husband has to work 2 jobs to support their family.
He works too hard, and I feel like I should do more. Sorry, that one's a real sore spot for me. I don't like needing a caregiver. I'm used to being the caregiver. I've been disabled for 10 years, and I still hate it. And then there's always society saying, oh, you're disabled, you're a burden on society.
But Cheryl is not a burden on society, and neither are any of those on the spectrum who may need assistance throughout their lifespan. Even so, families still worry about their child's future and who will care for them when they can no longer do so.
I was really worried about my kids' future and how they will handle things, but I've been trying to help them learn to be adults. They aren't very good at taking care of themselves, physically, financially, emotionally, just the whole gambit, but they're getting there.
I think the biggest concern is who is going to love him? who is going to love him? Because loving Madison still comes with challenges. And I think that's what we all want to have for our kids, to know that they're cared for or cared about. I think that's probably my biggest concern.
When my parents die is mainly what worries me, what's gonna happen.
It's really difficult to think about anybody else taking care of them on a permanent basis. My prayer is always, please let them be surrounded by people who will care for them the way that we do and as much as we do.
A lot of families that struggle with the resources to be able to provide throughout the child's lifespan, and particularly for people with autism who have significant disabilities, there's just great concern.
Creating a trust for them.
Special needs trust.
So they can at least have access to, the sale of the house or whatever finances are available to them.
The hard part is we get so wrapped up in the day-to-day that we forget that there's going to be years after we're gone that they're going to be here. It's hard to think about it, because if you think about what happens when I'm gone, then you sink into that depressive cycle of what happens when I'm gone. And you just can't bring yourself to think about it. And that sounds stupid, and it sounds like we're not being prepared for what we need to be prepared for, but at the same time, it's so overwhelming. You can't bring yourself to go there.
I've seen some parents basically build a whole new addition to their home so their adult child can be within easy supervision.
We are going to be changing our housing location to have a home that is adjacent almost, where Madison can be separate, but he can still be close to us. So when things do happen and we're gone, that he will have at least had a normal within his own environment. And that's about as good as it gets right now for us.
So what is the solution, and what do we do to assist those on the autism spectrum with varying needs throughout the lifespan when their families are no longer able to care for them?
Life course planning, guardianship issues, or health advocates. I think those are important issues, but in effect, parents are saying we need to do something. Parents and grandparents are always thinking about, okay, the future. What is the future going to be like? Not for themselves, but for a family member. And it's like a constant concern. And so instead of concern and worry and stress, hopefully we can all work kind of like channel that and make things happen.
I think we need more services, more social services.
I think in planning services, the challenges are many. The one that is probably most clear is the same services you would give to the most impaired would be rejected by people with milder disabilities. So there's that challenge of knowing one person with autism means you only know one person.
So I have had an enlightenment of the way in which I have interacted with adults and the general concept of neurodiversity and the way in which I look at it this way, that the human existence depends on a great variety of perspectives, talents, skills, ability, and what I think the awakening that's taken place is that the contribution, the way in which an individual with autism can become a part of our society, because society realizes that we collectively will be so much better off not only dealing with inclusion, but because all of us will make this better. And so the awakening is like we very much are in this together, all of us. So I changed from just being a scientist and a researcher, do the research and make more awareness about it. No, I went over a bridge and realized that I want to be an advocate. What can I do to be supportive every day, even in retirement, which there is no such thing. Stay involved. So I'm very much connected to this because it's been impactful not only professionally but personally.
These families represent many other families and individuals who have the same or other varying concerns. They want the same things we all want, a happy life. But it's also important to realize that each individual on the autism spectrum have individual needs and personalities, just like each of us. I believe that recognizing this is the first step in making changes and laying the groundwork for support throughout the lifespan for individuals with autism.
You ready?
Yeah.
What do we do when this song comes on?
Yeah!
Are you gonna dance? So we discovered a few years ago that Emma's an AC/DC fan.
The Incredibles, Megamind.
Because it's on the movie Megamind.
Honestly, I just want to be like every 21-year-old, go on dates, have fun, go to parties. I mean, yeah, sometimes I do that stuff, but it's harder because I can't drive myself places, so I have to either rely on other people or ask my parents to.
Madison is living with us, and I'm glad that he is right now because we're seeing a lot of artistic talent and ability with him. In fact, he just had his first solo art show this last weekend, and it was very well received. And so he's doing some fine art work, and then a lot of his images are being placed on products.
I think that will hopefully help society understand the difference and understand that it's not a disease, that it's just a different way of developing. We're the next step in the human evolution.
I just wish everyone had the opportunity to know and love these individuals, because honestly, there is nothing like it.
You know what, more than anything else, I want people to know that what a blessing this has been for us.
Yeah.
I almost sometimes feel bad for people who don't have any kind of kids like this, because I'm like, you're missing out on a whole world of awesome.
People ask us how do you deal with it? How do you do it? And
I don't know. I don't know any different.
It's just life. And
oh my gosh.
And then
yes.
we just thank our Heavenly Father every day that it wasn't triplets.
What is it that you want to say to everybody from your iPad?
Goodbye.
She did that with no assistance whatsoever.